and he's going to look over his material. Going to sit here. And, I don't know why that's funny to some, but I don't know. Is everything zipped up and all that? Okay. Okay. We're going to use our handheld mics, everybody. We're not mic'd up for like you might see on the Mike Douglas show. If you even see the Mike Douglas show anymore, it's not. It hasn't been on in years, has it? Okay. Are you ready?
All right. Well, good evening, folks. I'm glad y'all can be here for this tonight. Hope y'all are enjoying the music. And it's a pleasure for me to be here with Tim Rowland. And Tim is the world's greatest singing impressionist. And a lot of you have heard Tim over the years and have heard his music. And you know that he does a terrific job as an Elvis tribute artist, but he also does a lot of other music as well. So we just want to kind of get you guys familiarized a little bit with Tim and his background or whatever. So Tim, exactly how did you get into the entertainment business, and how long have you been in entertainment?
Well, first, Lamar, let me say I appreciate very much for being on your show. I know this is one of the first shows we're doing.
Right.
And we hope to have, I know you hope to have a long line of shows to come. But they asked me to be on here tonight, and I'm just privileged and very honored to be here. I got into show business almost 12 years ago, right here in my hometown of Memphis, Tennessee. Right. And I started out, Lamar, as a singing telegram artist. I used to go out and do singing telegrams, dressed up in different costumes. Different costumes. And one of the first characters they sent me out as was Elvis. And I'd gone to work for this place in a totally different type of job. I was designing costumes. It was a costume rental shop here in Memphis called Trick or Treat. They've been in business for years. And I went to work for them designing costumes for Halloween things they could rent out. And I hadn't been there but about 2 weeks. And the manager of the place watched me one day. He just kept watching me go about my business. And finally called me over, and he said, let me ask you a question. He said, do you know with your height and your build, you would make a good Elvis impersonator? And I said, oh, no, I don't want to do anything like that. No. I'd never performed before in my life.
Wow.
And he told me, he said, well, we're not going to make you do anything you don't want to do. So I went about my business. He called me back over. And now, folks, this was opportunity knocking, and I wasn't hearing it. I was too young and too stupid, I guess, or too embarrassed. You know?
Right.
And he called me back over and he said, do you know how much money you can make in tips doing this? He said, you can make in one show what you do here all week. That made me listen. I started to listen to him.
Got your attention.
And it wasn't 2 weeks later they had my first gig for me.
Wow.
And I went and ordered this beautiful custom-made jumpsuit and the cape and the belt and all that. And I went out and did my first gig, what they called an Elvis-gram. It was all singing telegrams, so it was a gorilla-gram, a nerd-gram, which I did those too. And I went out and did this Elvis-gram. And I was all dressed up. I talked to my wife about it, and she was all for it, because she had seen some of Elvis's later concerts here in Memphis. And I never had the privilege of doing that. And she said, you've never had too much fun in your life that I know of, so go ahead and do this crazy thing. So I went out and did this singing telegram.
Right.
And it was the most fun thing I'd ever done. And sure enough, the lady at the end of the show gave me a $50 bill for a tip.
Wow.
And I knew right then that's what I wanted to do.
You were an entertainer then.
I was an entertainer.
That's great.
And I've never looked back, and I just have been blessed to be in show business all these many years.
Well, Tim, you bill yourself as a singing impressionist. So how did some of that other influences come about? The other voices.
Well, it started with Elvis. As I said, I would go out to birthday parties and anniversaries, just about any occasion. And I would do a little jingle. I had written some jingles. And I would go out with roses and teddy bears, and I would, surprise people. And, well, I heard it was your birthday, and I'm just here to say you're looking better than ever than your first day, or whatever, And people would say, they loved it.
Right.
So I went in, and my boss at the time, Mr. Don Holland, who pretty much gave me my start in show business, he said, can you do, I've had some people to call, and they want you to do an entire show. Could you do more than just a jingle? And I said, I'll try anything. I'm having so much fun, I'll try anything. So I put together a 30-minute show, and he could sell that to people, and I was going to people's homes. I was going to public parks. After that, he started booking me in some of the hotels and private parties in Tunica, at our Tunica, Mississippi, at our resorts and casinos. And within 2 years, I was the most requested Elvis tribute artist in Memphis for 2 years running. And I was very, very proud of that.
Absolutely.
And as far as the other voices, I had always played around with other voices other than Elvis, because from the South, I think most kids try to either sound like Conway Twitty or Elvis or Johnny Cash.
Right.
And I had put together maybe 20 or 30 voices. I was doing impersonations of Elvis, Johnny Cash, Dean Martin, Conway Twitty, Roy Orbison, Jerry Lee Lewis. And these things I would practice only on my own.
Right.
I never let even my wife hear these. I was doing a private show at the Horseshoe Casino in Tunica. This particular show, folks, I was what they called a stripping nerd. Now, don't think it's anything dirty. It was actually very funny. I would go out with these big, huge teeth and these big, thick glasses, and my hair was greased down, and I had these horrible-looking clothes. And usually it was a wife, right, or an aunt or a sister, and somebody wanted to embarrass them to death. And they would hire me to do that. And this just happened to be at the Tunica Horseshoe Casino inside the restaurant. It was for a private party, but it was right in the middle of the restaurant. When I got done, the lady was embarrassed to death. I had done my job. I had my pants around my ankles and these huge boxer shorts on. And I walked out of the place just feeling great. I got a good tip. And I went outside, got in the car with my wife. She was waiting in the car. And I said, I've been practicing doing impersonations of other voices. And she said, well, I know you can sound like Elvis, but I didn't know you could sound like anybody else. So for the first time on the way home, which is about a 40-minute drive,
right,
I was doing little snippets of, hello, darling.
Oh, okay.
Nice to see you. It's been a long time. Laura was a pretty woman walking. Then her eyes just got bigger and bigger, and she said, I didn't know you could do all this. I said, well, I didn't either. So I put together a show. Sorry about that, folks. Sorry about the feedback. I put together a show, and I sold it to some private parties, and we started doing these shows. And I fell in love with doing impersonations. And doing just an Elvis was not enough for me. I wanted to do all these impersonations, and it grew and grew. There were some impersonators out in Las Vegas. Danny Gans and some others. Rich Little. You've all heard of Rich Little, I'm sure.
Yeah.
And they were doing 150 or 200 different types of voices. And I knew if I was going to be successful, I had to do all the voices they did. So I went and got all their information. And I thought, if they can do these voices, I can, because I'm already doing 20 or 30. So I looked at their list of voices that they did. And for instance, it'd be John Wayne. Well, I know I can do some John Wayne, that if they can do it, I can do it. So I did some John Wayne, and I loved it. The next voice might be Jimmy Stewart. Well, I said, well, if I can do these other things, well, I know I can do some Jimmy Stewart. I'll tell you what, folks. Have you heard about the plastic surgery they're doing to all the entertainers out in Hollywood these days? They're all getting all these different types of things done to themselves to look younger. And the big thing out there is Botox. Have you heard of Botox at all?
Yes, I have.
Well, they shoot this stuff in their forehead. And they can't laugh, they can't frown, they can't move, you know. Well, folks, I hate to say this, but I decided to try it myself. You know, I'm getting a little bit older these days, so I went and got some Botox. But they gave it to me in the wrong place. They gave it to me in my rear end. You know? And then they tried to cover the whole thing up. They said it was a new procedure. It's called Botox for your buttocks.
Very good, very good. So we're hearing of other voices you've been doing. So what do you have in your repertoire right now? 50 or so? What do you do?
Well, at one time I got up to 180 voices.
180.
And that included everybody from Bugs Bunny to Henry Kissinger to Bill Clinton.
Wow.
To President, you know. But what I found, Lamar, is that unfortunately there aren't many character actors in business today that have such a rich voice. You know, back in the day, they had John Wayne, they had Jimmy Stewart, they had Walter Brennan at one time. You know, Walter Brennan had such a great voice, and he'd get aggravated, and he'd go up real high. You can't do that. And all these great character actors that people have forgotten.
Right.
And when I started booking myself in the nightclubs around around our area, I would do the singing impersonations, which I distinguish between singing impersonations and speaking impersonations. And I would sing and do Elvis and Roy Orbison and Jerry Lee Lewis, and people loved it. But when I would stop and do the speaking impersonations, like as I just did, Marlon Brando and Jimmy Stewart, they just, no matter how good it was or how funny it was, people have a short attention span these days. And they won't, it just doesn't absorb. They have to have you in their face singing all the time. So I kind of dropped the speaking impersonations in favor of doing more singing impersonations. And when I was singing, it was okay. So after a while, all these voices I had practiced got a little rusty. And only recently have I started to practice these things again, as you've heard them tonight. And, hopefully they came out okay. I don't know.
Let's get back to the Elvis, because Elvis is an extremely big part of you. Do you think you look like Elvis? What do you think? A lot of people probably think you do. And is that something you're trying to achieve?
Oh, that's a very good question. No, I don't think I look that much like him.
That surprises me. I thought you were going to say you do.
I think I'm what they call a reasonable facsimile. And I do my show right down the street from Graceland. And most of our trade is the tourist trade. They come to see Elvis.
And Graceland.
And Graceland and everything that is Elvis.
Right.
And when they come to see my show, they expect to see somebody who's reasonably looks something like him and it sings like him. So, but you have to understand, Lamar, and Elvis Presley was blessed at birth with beautiful features. He really did. He was a very handsome man. And he had a much better nose than I did. And I don't want to have the surgery, so I think I'll just get by with my nose. But I think I can pass. But, you know, there have been a lot of movies and TV shows about Elvis Presley that I personally didn't think that the actor they chose really looked like Elvis.
Right.
But they did such a good job at portraying Elvis, it made you believe.
Right.
So as long as I can make people believe, and use and do the voice and be as kind to them as I can, and which is basically by nature I am.
Right. You are.
I think I can make them believe. And but there have been many performers, and I think people forget this. There have been many performers who have adopted this type of look. There was Wayne Newton, and Engelbert Humperdinck, and some others that had the black hair, the pompadour.
Right. Yeah.
So I'm in good company,
There you go.
And
You are.
so,
Yeah.
I think I get by.
You do extremely well. Extremely well. I mean, when you have people stopping you outside on the street and saying, Elvis, Elvis, you know,
Well,
that tells us.
They're bill collectors.
Oh,
They're just after the
right.
They don't care what they call them.
Well, Tim, you were in the Branson market. You were up in Branson,
Yes,
entertaining, performing for 4 years. Was it?
4 years.
So what was that? What was that experience like?
What was Branson like? I believe I asked earlier, has anybody been to Branson? Has anybody been to Branson? You have? Yeah, okay. I was there for 4 years, as I said.
Right.
And if anything I took away from Branson, Missouri, it would be a great show business education. There wasn't a lot of money to be made, actually.
Right.
I got a great lot of experience there. I met some fantastic entertainers. I worked with some great entertainers. Irma Williams was one of them. I'll never forget. Irma Williams, I don't know if you know who this is. Irma Williams is one of the greatest, or the greatest, John Wayne impersonators I've ever seen. And he actually had been in some commercials where he doubled for John Wayne. And he'd been in some movies where he doubled for John Wayne. And he was very good friends with the remaining family of John Wayne. They knew him very well. He was always in the Rose Parade in Pasadena as John Wayne. And there was many aspects. I singled him out. There was many aspects of this man that I learned from. And wherever you saw Irma, he was in character.
Right.
He would wear the John Wayne clothes and the John Wayne hat and the John Wayne scarf. And the only thing that he didn't wear out in public, and he would have if it was legal, was the 6-gun. I used to meet him in Walmart all the time.
Right.
And it was my favorite little joke with him. He and I, whenever I would sneak up on him, for instance, one day he was getting a prescription for his wife. And I walked up behind him and said, "Well, here's your joke, everybody. What are you doing in here, John? Are you here to rob the place? What are you going to do with it?" And he'd turn around, thank you. And he'd turn around, he'd do that, John, "Oh, what are you doing here, Tim? What's going on, And we just have the greatest time. But he was such a professional, and he taught me so many things about show business. I learned from a lot of great people up there.
Right.
I still keep in contact with.
Oh,
Some of these people had some pedigrees in show business. They've been on Hee Haw. You remember the TV series Hee Haw that we all watched?
Yes.
They've been on that for years and performed in other great venues.
Yeah.
They're too numerous for me to mention here.
Right.
But what I got from Branson was just a great education, and I learned from them about the politics of show business. Folks, there are politics in show business.
Right.
You will get, I hate to say this, it's probably wrong to say, especially at Christmas, but you will get stabbed in the back so fast that you've got to watch real close. And I learned that too.
Well, Tim, let's move on from Branson. Let's move back to Memphis. And you've been back in Memphis for several years now.
3 years, yes.
And so, where are you performing now? What venues are you in right now?
Well, I've been very blessed. I'm at a place I mentioned earlier during the show. It's called the Rock and Roll Cafe. And they've been in business for a very long time. And I work under some great people, Daryl and Steve Shanks, Tori. It's right down the street. It's just 4 blocks away from Graceland. It's on Elvis Presley Boulevard.
Right.
It's the property that it's on is actually owned by Elvis Presley Enterprises.
Right.
And a lot of people don't realize that the company that owns most part of Elvis Presley Enterprises is an entertainment company called Apollo, and they own Dancing with the Stars and American Idol.
Right.
So I work through them.
Mm-hmm.
They're fantastic people. And it's just, I've been there for almost 2 years. This March will be 2 years. And I have built such a fan following there in a short time.
Yeah.
And you've seen the show.
I have seen the show.
And
excellent show.
met some great people up there.
Right.
And the future just looks great. They just started, I don't know if you've heard this or not locally, but Elvis Presley Enterprises just started a 5-year, multi-million dollar project.
Oh, yes, I did hear. Yeah.
Down there.
Yes.
So everything's going to be leveled, including the Rock and Roll Cafe.
Right.
And then I'll be on the corner with a tin cup performing for you as you go by. But no, we're actually going to be moving to a bigger facility. But what they have in mind after 5 years is going to equal Branson or Atlantic City and even Las Vegas. It's going to be fantastic.
Right.
So we're very excited. I'm on the bottom floor of that, going up to the top of it.
Coming up with it.
Yeah, the very
That's
first
great.
stages.
That's great.
Very exciting.
Well, just another question or two, and we want to let these people hear some more music. We'll get back to the music.
And he's going to sing it for you.
Right. You don't want that to happen tonight. Trust me. You want Tim to sing tonight. But do you have any other projects other than the Rock and Roll Cafe? You have anything else going on right now,
We
Tim,
do.
that these folks would like to hear about?
We do. We have, we're going to be doing, your show is streamed through the internet. Of course, everybody, the wave of the future is internet streaming, where they will film a show like this and charge
Right.
a certain price for you to watch it via your computers. And I have a project going right now with Dr. Alfred Brown, who is not only my dentist, but he's also, I was telling you about my dentist earlier, but he's also a fantastic jazz and blues musician. And he has a studio set up where we will be taping shows and